You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt Migaki, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
Woo! What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out. You know I appreciate you. I say that every week because it's true. I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I had a really weird realization that my career has sort of unfolded in 7 to 8 year blocks. You know, I spent 7 or 8 years as a mechanic. I spent around 8 years in the oil industry. And as 2023 is drawing to a close, I'm right at 8 years in the guitar industry, which is just the most insane thing. And I have you to thank for it. Whoever you are, wherever you're hearing this, thank you so much for giving me any amount of time whatsoever. A massive shout out to everyone who supports the show through Patreon. But seriously, just listening to this and spreading the word, it's huge. It allows me, well, to keep doing this. Without anybody listening, there's no way I would get the opportunities that have been presented to me. So thank you so much for your time from the bottom of my heart, seriously. But enough of that blabbering because, you know, you're here for different kinds of blabbering. Let's get into this episode with my new buddy, Mr. Dave Hill. Dave is a comedian. He's a writer. He's probably one of the most multifaceted people that I've ever had on this podcast. He is a guitar fanatic. We talk a lot about gear. We talk a lot about him. And he's just a super cool dude. So if you're not familiar with Dave Hill, go check him out. His links are in the show notes, of course. He's got a new book out tomorrow. Check that out. We go over all of that here in this episode. So without further ado, let's get into this episode with Mr. Dave Hill. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have a freshly showered Mr. Dave Hill. How's it going, dude?
Good. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you on because I know we just kind of dove right into this, but, you know, a listener tagged me in one of your posts, you know, talking about podcast stuff, and I was like, this is the guy from the metal video. Yeah, from like 8 years ago. And I had been following you like off and on ever since. So I had no idea you were as into the gear world as you are.
Oh, yeah. Do you mean the metal grasshopper stuff?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
I remember when that first dropped and I watched all of them.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we did that. That was fun to do.
But you've had a wild career way beyond that. Like once I started like doing more digging, because like I said, you've popped in and out of my internet life since about that time period. And I wanted to get your whole story because you're like me if I was funny. So like obviously music's a huge part of what you do in your live shows and your just life in general. But like,
yeah,
what's the Dave Hill story? I want to get the whole thing.
Well, it's sort of I'm a bit of a drifter in terms of like my interests, and like now I've kind of fused everything together on some level. But you know, I started playing in bands in college and stuff, and I had this band. I'll try to make it quick. But
it's a podcast. You don't have to be fast. Take it as long as you want.
I formed a band in college called Sons of Elvis, which was the best slash worst band name ever, maybe. And, but we were all teenagers, and we were going to Fordham University in the Bronx. But we got a record deal like shortly after graduation. We signed with Priority Records, which was like hip hop label primarily.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll tell you though, in terms of gear, my buddy Tim Parnan, who, we I played bass in that band, though, we both played guitar on the album. Our dream was to get like a sponsorship with ESP guitars, because we loved, we always thought those were so cool. The George Lynch guitars and like Page Hamilton,
absolutely,
from Helmet. And then so we got a bunch of ESP guitars, and so it's like our high school dreams come true. And so that band, we made one record, had a couple songs on the radio, a video on MTV, like in the middle of the night, back when that was meant anything, And so from there, I kind of, that fell apart. I formed another band, and then during that time, I started writing, and I was playing in another band. I was enjoying like talking on stage in between songs, and then in writing, I started just like joking around. So from that, I wound up briefly doing like journalism stuff, and then started writing for television. And this is like 20 years ago at this point. And then from being just an idiot around the office while writing for television, they started to like encourage me to be like a performer, because I never really planned to go into comedy as a performer. And then so it kind of, I started doing that, and it kind of grew organically, and started doing, little acting here and there. And meanwhile, I'm just like overlapping all this stuff, but I formed a band called Valley Lodge, and we're still together. I formed it with my buddy John Kimbrough, who he had a great band called Walt Mink. That was one of my favorite bands, and he's in LA now doing like awesome, music and film. I mean, TV and film music stuff. But the band is still going, and one of our songs is the theme to the John Oliver Last Week Tonight with John Oliver on HBO.
Oh, nice! That's awesome.
So anyway, I've been doing comedy now for like 19 years, I think, coming up on, or wait, what year is it now? Maybe 18 years. I can't remember. And then so, started incorporating the guitar more into the comedy. For a while, I kept it separate just because I wasn't sure like how I wanted to mix them together. And then, sort of in recent years, I've been doing more where I just kind of tell my jokes and rip solos at the same time.
I love
it. It's just a better way. It's more fun for me, and it makes it so I only have to leave the house once. I do comedy and music at the same time, rather than like do a comedy show, then go play with my band. But I still play with my band sometimes. But yeah. So and now they're really, it's all pretty blurry. Like tonight I'm in Toronto, and I'm going to do a show with my buddy Nick Flanagan, another comedian, but I'm going to have Chris Murphy from Sloan play drums, and Brendan Canning from Broken Social Scene play bass. They'll be my backup band for the night. And I kind of, I just did this tour with Tenacious D, which was the funnest thing I've ever done in my life, pretty much. And I had their drummer Scott and bass player John join me as the rhythm section for that. So yeah, it's all everything's kind of mushing together in a nice way, I think. And from a gear perspective, I've been like amassing way too much gear, and like some company's been kind enough to send a few things my way, which is really nice and awesome. And my inner 15-year-old is completely freaking out,
Oh yeah,
to be able to have like a guitar company want me to play, something. So,
I can definitely relate to that, because I didn't ever think that this was going to be a job. Well, it wasn't a job 10 years ago. It was like, this wasn't a thing that existed. So yeah, the first time I had companies ever wanting to work with me, I was like, I'm a guy in a shed in the middle of Oregon. So like, what are you talking about? Like, this is weird. But Similarly, my inner 15-year-old is like, wow, this is crazy. This is so cool. But
yeah, totally.
But I've never seen anybody meld the two worlds the way you have. Like, you clearly have. It's not just a gimmick. It's part of who you are as a person. Your interests in all this stuff is very genuine, and I think that comes across in your performances and just kind of how you exist in the online space, and that seems kind of rare. Sometimes I feel like some comedians might, have a prop or something, and that's really is just part of the act. They don't really care, but this is truly a part of your being. The guitar is.
Yeah, for sure. And it took me a while to because I was always playing and stuff, but I think with comedy early on, I wasn't sure how to introduce it because, it seemed like a lot of people were just kind of I guess I didn't think it would be funny to be, it's kind of funny to just bash away and not be very good. And I was like, oh, it's not funny to be good. But then I was like, it's really funny to be really good. I sort of realized that, which is not me saying I'm really good. I mean,
you are really good, though. You are good.
Oh, thanks. But I'm always, I'm always wanting to get better and stuff. And I recognize, there's some flaws to my playing. But then also at the same time, that in turn is funny to, play like a shreddy thing and just have it go off the rails. So you really can't lose. But it's just a lot of fun to mix the two and have an excuse to do some nice Floyd Rose dive bombs and things like that. And
So when you are writing your shows, obviously, like, comedy is not, it's something I absorb as a audience member, but like the process of it is far beyond my understanding. I did one tiny bit of stand up in a friend's backyard once, and I was horrible at it and hated it. Even though I'm like, public speaking's fine, but like trying to be funny just like crushed my entire soul. But like songwriting's very familiar to me, and that all comes pretty naturally. But when you're trying to blend the two together, I mean, yeah, you're dive bombing, doing solos and whatever, but when you're actually writing the routine, are you writing like with the instrument at the same time, or do you say like insert dive bomb here, or like how do you go about crafting this?
No, I don't write with the instrument. I always have the, because everything that I do, anything that I do with, the guitar and playing music, I usually work it out on stage without the guitar. So, I want the words I want it to work without the guitar. It has to be strong without that. And then you add the guitar and then it turns into these other elements. Cause I just want it to like exist on its own and be funny just as the words, performing that aspect of it. And then to add the guitar is sort of like, it's just this other element. And a lot of that is like just kind of spontaneous. Some nights go better than others because it's like you're squeezing in, solos in between, and they're kind of I've sort of started doing it like to, play licks to underscore what I just said, or stuff like that. And some nights it works into a good flow, and then other times when it's like, oh, I only have X amount of time, I'm like, oh, I don't know, I can't rip too many solos during this. I only have 9 minutes or whatever. And you got to really squeeze it in. But then, when it's my own headlining shows and stuff, and I can really take as much time as I want, that's really fun to just kind of step back and disappear into the guitar a little bit. And it's fun. I mean, not to overanalyze it, but it's fun. Like, as like, I guess I'm extroverted in terms of, being a performer, but I'm also super introverted and hate being in front of people. So, to be able to talk and then kind of like just solo and stuff and, hit a few pedals and stuff is really fun for me.
That makes some sense. It gives you a like a moment of solace, kind of while you're in the spotlight. You're like, wait, I can shrink behind this thing for a minute or a second.
You can kind of almost observe like the show for a second. You kind of step out and be like, I'm just going to kind of assess what's going on here while I do some hot licks. And it's also fun, like it's sort of like, because I still play in a couple bands that are just pretty straightforward, and then with comedy, it's all like with even my gear is different. There's like pedals that I view as comedy pedals.
Oh yeah.
And comedies and pedals that I'm like, oh, that's just a straight up rock pedal. And same with the guitars. There's varying levels of guitars that are like, some are funnier than others. The funniest one I have is probably, I have a Dean Razor Bolt, which is kind of like their most extreme version of, it's like the Razorback with extra jagged. It's got a Floyd Rose. It's has probably the pointiest guitar ever made. And so that might be the top comedy guitar I have. And then on the other hand, I have some Tellys and, Gold Top Les Paul, which, I've used in comedy, but those are more straight up rock guitars.
Sure. What do you think the funniest guitar ever made is?
I
You're
mean,
the perfect person to ask this question to, I think. I've never asked that question before.
I mean, you got to go. I mean, Dean has made. I will say the Razor Bolt that I have is awesome.
It's up there.
And really, it's really fun to play. I would say that's a top comedy guitar. A BC Rich Warlock. I mean, it's hard to say because like Warlock. I mean, I also think, like, I love the Dean and I love the like BC Rich Warlock, which I've never had. I would like one, or like an Iron Bird. I think would be pretty sweet.
Iron Bird would be sick. Yep.
But I've never. I had a Mockingbird briefly, but it just wasn't the right. We didn't click, so I set it free.
I understand.
But I still want a Mockingbird. It was just that particular one wasn't the right one.
Sure.
It's like a pandemic purchase. But what's it? I can't remember. Guild made this guitar in like the 80s that was like really, I don't even know what it was called, but it was pretty ridiculous. I think JJ French from Twisted Sister played one. But I can't remember what the model is called, but it's pretty ridiculous. But I think in general, the funniest guitars are big. The bigger, the pointier. It's always good. Good to have a Floyd Rose. Though then you have to have two. You have to, you can't just go out with one Floyd Rose guitar unless you have, not to be, though this is a gear show, so I guess I can go down this road. Like you can have it. You can have it blocked, so you don't have to worry about breaking strings. But I really like. I mean, a guitar that sort of covers the full spectrum for me that I use a lot for everything. Whether it's comedy or just being just straight up rocking. I have a Dunable Asteroid.
Oh yeah,
it's like a Flying V style.
I love those.
And it's just such a beautiful guitar, and it's I have a 79 Gibson Flying V, and this one, and it's cool, of course, but a friend was telling me recently the 79 Flying V is now like a hot year because of Kirk Hammett or something. But
the 79 to like 84 Gibsons in general are starting to become pretty hot items, I think, because of Kirk Hammett and my brain just failed. Tool, Adam Jones. There we go.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So like all of those late 70s, early 80s Gibsons are starting to go through the roof. So take good care of that one.
Yeah, I know. I got to dig it out. I broke it at one point. Now I have to see what shape it's in. But yeah, the Dunnable is like just like amazingly well balanced, and the pickups are awesome. You can use it for anything. So and I've been using that one a lot. I've been touring with my friend Puddle's Pity Party a lot, and that's been the main guitar for those shows. It's just
nice.
like beautiful, like V, the V shape, and then it's like a frost blue. It's got an out of phase switch on it for when I want to really, Brian May it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool guitar. I love it.
When did you pick that up? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. And
maybe I should have said this earlier. Maybe the funniest guitar I have is Delaney guitars in Texas. Mike Delaney builds these beautiful guitars, and they're more traditional generally, Fender and Gibson inspired, but doing his own thing, kind of taking it in his own direction. But he got a hold of some Dean custom shop. So this company that was making like the body, the whole, they were doing the frets and bodies for some Dean custom shop guitars. And somehow he got a hold of a couple of them. And so he had one like a Razorback, and he was like, I'm going to, finish this one for you. What do you want? And, I'm like, can I do anything? He's like, yeah. And so, do you know toile, the fabric? It's like a design. It's like sort of French. You know it because you'd see it and you'd be like, oh, my aunt has that as her curtains in her house. Right. It's like has like
yes.
Kind of like French peasants having picnics, and there's trees and it's kind of a motif that I really like. So I had a jumpsuit made of that like kind of pattern, and then when Mike, was like, what do you want the guitar to look like? I was like, I want to have a toile guitar. So I picked out some fabric and sent it to him, and he glued the fabric to the top of the guitar and the top of the headstock, and it looks amazing. And then it's got like a, vintage Floyd, like 80s Floyd Rose on it, and then some of his hand-wound pickups in it. And that guitar is an amazing guitar, but it's also I do like stepping on stage with a toile outfit and a toile guitar. So that's a pretty funny move in my opinion.
I'm with you.
So that could be the winner.
I like that.
But now that having said that though, I could just go on all day. I have this right here.
Oh,
this guitar I don't think is particularly funny. I have this beautiful Illuminati guitars.
Oh yeah,
Orion, which is an amazing guitar. Like it plays, it's just great. Plays amazingly well. It has Lawler Imperials in it. It's a total beast. And then what I love about the Illuminati guitars is they make these crazy, amazing, beautiful guitars, and then they put. Oh, you can't really see it, but I think I need to change the batteries. But the body, they have LED lights in it, so
I love
the whole guitar lights up. And I thought, I mean, it's really cool, but I also think it's really funny to when you're ripping a solo and you need to take it to the next level. You just turn the lights on, and I like that they spent all this time crafting this amazing instrument, and then they're like, we're not done yet. Let's put some lights in there. And then I'm going to be in Asheville where they're based, and James Little, who, he's the boss there. He said he was going to swap my lights out. So there'll be I can change the colors, so like the guitar's blue and then switch it to another, whatever. I'm not sure what other colors. I'm going to find out when I go there, but very excited.
Yeah, if they do like an RGB LED in it, it can be a pretty big spectrum. So I've got some that are like kind of like run along the conduit in here sometimes when I'm shooting videos, and I can change it from like red, purple, green, like all, you get quite a good spectrum. So that's probably what he's going to do.
It's super cool.
Yeah, I've been really wanting to go check those out. I talked to James like years ago at a NAMM show and thought the guitars were incredible. And then like fast forward to about a year ago, we started supplying the strings for all of those. And so
nice.
So it's like, it's been kind of a weird like dance around that we haven't really connected the dots yet. But we will soon. And yeah, they make, to me, they make such like, they're kind of wild. They're kind of out there, but they're classy. They don't look weird in a way that you wouldn't want to play it. Sometimes people try to extend the guitar design shape out a little bit too far for my tastes. And I think Illuminati has done a good job while getting out there, but still being aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, totally. They're totally badass. And you can kind of like, I mean, they have all sorts of people, me, of course, playing one, but and now I'm just spacing on his name, but the bass player for Government Mule, if you can play it in Government Mule, and then I can go open for Tenacious D with it. It's pretty wide. It's a good range.
It's a good range, yeah.
And it looks cool in both settings. So, it's totally badass guitar. That's the one I have with me right now.
For the listeners, I suppose we should say this. We looked at it here, but it's kind of the one that Dave has is kind of a translucent body, and they're called Illuminati because they use a lot of aluminum in the process. Almost all of them have an aluminum neck. Some of them are fully aluminum. It just kind of depends on what you want. So they're not exactly a traditional guitar maker, but they do make incredible stuff. So go check them out, everybody, because it is super, super cool.
Yeah, they're cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And then, I'm a fan of, I'm a big, I have a lot of Gibsons and stuff too. I'm a huge SG fan.
Oh yeah.
I have a SG that I love that I take out with me a lot. And sweet Les Paul. I'm just guitar obsessed, really. There's no really kind of guitar. I'm not really a big Strat guy, but I just haven't found the right one yet.
Mm-hmm. I can relate to that.
Hi, I'm Vincent, and I'm here to talk about the Merit Mercury X. My dad's always going on and on about how cool Meris is. He really went off on one about the Mercury X the other day. He said something about a 4,800 hertz sample rate and 99 preset locations and 33 banks, and something along the lines of the most advanced reverb pedal ever devised by man? That's all true, but I only care about one thing. This pedal sounds sick. So make sure you check out the Mercury X and all the other fine products at Meris.us, as well as fine retailers worldwide. All right, Dad, now can I have my Pocky?
How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services. And it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there. Strats are interesting, right? Because they're obviously like the most popular electric guitar ever. I mean, I say this a lot on the podcast, but it's the guitar emoji is a Stratocaster. That's what everybody thinks of as guitar. But
Yeah.
I've never found one that just resonated with me. I've played some that I like, but I don't own one. Out of all the stuff that I've cycled through, the Strats never landed in the shed for very long. But one day, I'm sure one day it'll happen.
Yeah, it's out there. You just got to find the right one. Yeah. But yeah, I bought one. Again, that was my other pandemic purchase. I bought a Mockingbird and I bought a Strat, and then I had to release them both back into the wild after a few months.
Yeah. So what's the rest of your rig look like when you are on tour? I'm sure at home you are like all of us and have a gajillion pedals and it gets all over the place. But when you're actually out performing, what do you usually bring with you these days?
I mean, I change it up all the time, but I mean, the sort of one pedal that's always on the board is I love Earthquaker Devices pedals.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a ton of those, but I always the Dispatch Master. By them, it's such like it's like reverb and delay, and you can kind of do whatever. And it only has 4 knobs, which I can't stress enough. Is I'm just a simple man from Cleveland, and I did too many knobs. If something has too many knobs, I start to get nervous. So that one has 4 knobs, which is kind of like my three or 4 knobs is my comfort zone. So and so I use that, and then I have a TC Electronics Ditto looper that I use. That's when when I can't have a backing band, I'll have the looper pedal, even though I prefer to have a backing band. And then I was using Wampler Pinnacle for gain to a sound, but lately I've been using for a while now the Greer amps. It's like, I think it's called a Super Cobra.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it's called, but I use that a lot. And then I really like Ibanez made this Paul Gilbert airplane flanger.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I wish they would reissue it in like a smaller what's it called?
Enclosure?
Yeah. Enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's massive, and I feel like it's cool that it's massive, but I bet they could make it much smaller.
Probably so. Yeah.
But it's such a cool the flange on it is totally badass. And then it has this thing like another button on it that's kind of like this looping, like like it, and you can adjust the speed, and
yeah, it's probably the feedback if I had to guess on that.
Yeah, you can just kind of hit it and you can use it like in lieu of a dive bomb, and or you can just make it crazy. It's a good comedy pedal. Speaking of comedy pedals,
that's exactly where I was going to go next. So yeah.
Yeah. So so with that, like, I like the Earthquaker Devices Data Corruptor, which is an insane pedal that you can make, it sounds like it's a PPL pedal, which I don't even know what that means, but I learned that's a category.
It is. Pedal. It's kind of a synthesizer circuit that a lot of people have explored in the fuzz realm.
Yeah. So that's a totally badass pedal, and you can have that be, synthy, octavey, distortion type thing, but then, or you can just make it sound like the whole venue PA is broken, depending on how you set it. So I've had that a lot. But then, with the Tenacious D tour, I was just trying to make my board like super lean and mean. And I forgot, I didn't bring that because I was just like, I need to really pare down. And then I got out there, and, the shows were like 10,000 people some nights. And I was like, I need a crazy pedal that's going to destroy this place. And so I didn't want to buy another data corruptor, because then I would have 2 when I got home. So we were in Nashville, and I bought Third Man Records, does those pedal collaborations, and there's like the Mantic Flex.
Oh yeah, I think that was the
is-
first one they did, I believe.
And that's sort of like it's also a PPL pedal. I do this because I read up. I was like, what? So it's basically like kind of a simpler version of the Data Corruptor, three knobs, and I got that, and that's pretty cool. What else do I have? The Earthquaker C Machine, I think it's called, is their chorus that I've been using. But then they just came out with another chorus that's called, I have it, and I forget what it's called. I should look it up just because.
The new chorus? Let's see if I can find it. Earthquaker devices. There's so many things to try to remember. Chorus.
It starts with an A or an E.
We got the Ariel. I know this is why you couldn't remember because it's hard to say. Arielis? Arlius?
Aurelius? I don't know, but that
tri-voiced chorus. Yeah,
that's a really great chorus. So, yeah, that'll probably take the place of the C Machine next time. And what else? Let's see. Oh, I bought a couple pedals from Brad Davis, who plays bass in Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
Creepy Fingers.
Yeah. Brad's
those
great.
Those are dangerous because they're so cool. I mean, they sound great, but then they look really cool, which is obviously, it's a slippery slope when a pedal sounds really cool, but then it looks really cool. So I got the Belch pedal, which is kind of like, it's kind of like a big muff that's gone off the rails in a really awesome way. And then I bought the Regulus pedal, I think it's called. That's kind of like the Os Mutantes sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't really had a lot of time to mess around with that one yet, but I really dig that. It's endless. I'm such a pedal whore, really. I bought a Fuzz Roches Croak pedal when I was in Boston.
Oh, yeah, the Croak. Yes.
And that's an amazing pedal. I kind of had that. I need to I benched it for a little bit, not because there's anything wrong with it, but I just realized I needed to do a little homework and get better. I needed to I use it for, it's a killer pedal, but it does so many cool things. I was like, I need to figure out the right cool thing. And oh my God, I can't,
Fuzz Roches actually is Ryan's a good friend. He's, I think, been on this podcast more than any other pedal builder, if I had to guess. I think he's been on 4 times. But we can just go off. We just go off the rails, and who knows where these conversations are going to land. But he has a great sense of humor, and I think there are several Fuzz Roches builds, especially some of the more limited stuff over the years, that probably qualify for good comedy pedals. Right now, he's got one out called the Tyrannochorus, which is a chorus with a built-in fuzz circuit in the feedback loop, which you can turn on and off.
Oh, and that sounds pretty awesome.
If it's so great. I love Ryan. Ryan's fantastic.
Yeah, those are cool. I want to check out more. There's some other pedal he makes that I was reading about that sounds like it's fuzz with phase. I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, he's done a couple of different of these things where he's integrated modulation with phase, modulation with fuzz. And I can't remember the name of that one off the top of my head, but I can picture the pedal in my brain. I think it might not be available anymore. I don't know. He's going to get me in trouble, but for speculating. But yeah.
Oh, now, I mean, this is endless. I could just do this all day. And then when we're done, I'm going to kick myself for not mentioning some pedals. But there's Spruce Effects. Do you know Spruce Effects?
Yeah.
Those are badass. I have a Gale that is, I sometimes have that as my gain situation. That's totally badass pedal. And I love pedals that there's a kind of go off the rails setting where you're kind of, there's things that are going to happen that are kind of, like if you were to go like a Boss, what's it called, the SD1 or the that would be just like kind of that. Nothing crazy is going to really happen with that pedal. I like the sort of other ones that are like, kind of sputter and like and hiss like a machine that's about to explode. Those are kind of my favorite pedals. So that's a cool pedal because it can do like super just kind of controlled things, and then you can kind of have it do some other crazy stuff, and
just get out there on the edge a little bit further.
Daredevil pedals, those are cool. Do you know those pedals?
I saw that dude from afar at a guitar show, but I didn't get a chance to go over there. So I'm familiar with the brand, but I need to.
Yeah, he makes
I need
badass
to get
stuff. Chicago. Trying to think. Yeah, it's endless though. But so okay. I have my board right here, but where is it? I could tell you what's on. I'm trying to think what's on it. Dispatch Master. Yeah, the Third Man Mantic Flex thing. I think the Greer is on there. And lately, my friend Doug Womble, who's like more of a jazz cat, he loaned me his Strymon Iridium.
Oh yeah,
which I used. I usually prefer to have an amp, even if it's like, I've played when I opened for Down in New Orleans, and I used 5-inch Fender like practice amp in front of 2,000 people, just because we thought it would be funnier. But I don't mind doing that if you mic it and just it's all I need. I don't need much to take some heads off. But Doug loaned me his Strymon, and I used that in August for my European dates, and then and I used it for the whole Tenacious D tour. And
wow!
So it was cool. It's just easier for an old man not to have a lug and amp around. Though I have plenty of amps too. I'm just too lazy usually to take them anywhere.
If you are going to play with an amp live, again, like I know it's a little different in studios and at home because you can just mess around and do whatever you want. But if you're going to lug one out live, if it's going to be worth the pain, which one are you bringing with you?
I mean, of my own, I have an orange half stack, like a 70s Cab 412 that used to belong to Urge Overkill, and then it belonged to my friend John Kimbrough, and now I have it. But I haven't taken that anywhere in forever. But I have that, and then like an orange AD30 head from like, it's at least 20 years old. I think it was from when that brief period, I think when Gibson was making them. I
forgot about that.
That's right. I'd have to look at it. I think that it's from that era, or it might just be a straight up orange, but it's, it's not a vintage one. And then I have Swart. Do you know that? Swart amps? I have, I can't even remember what it's called, but it's a little amp, and it's awesome. And it's called, God, I can't remember what model it is. But it's very simple. I think it has like 2 knobs again, which is, I always like that. So, of my own amps, those ones, but then I don't know, like Vox AC30, I'm always super psyched. Pretty much anything.
You like it all.
But a Roland Jazz Chorus, I wouldn't be too happy if I had, was all I had to use, even though they're cool for some stuff. Though I just saw Belly and my friend Tanya Donnelly, the singer, guitar player, she was playing, I think that was the only amp she was using, and it sounded great. So I stand corrected. But I just don't like super clean, I don't like, twin reverbs too much, because you have to crank them so loud to, at least for my enjoyment, they have to be so loud. I like an amp that, will do cool things at, not deafening volumes. But I'm also anymore though, and this is maybe blasphemous, but I tend to do so much through my pedals that because so often I'm just using whatever, again, out of laziness and ease of travel, I tend to just use, whatever amp is there. And so I've kind of figured it out to where I'll just if you get me like a clean amp, just run it pretty flat. I just do everything through the pedals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's blasphemous or not, but when I first started really getting into gear, that was how I started first, because all I had was a big clean Fender. And it sounds good, but I like metal and I like a lot of other things. And so, I was like, well, everyone says you need a tube amp and then you use pedals. And so I just kind of went down the rabbit hole of adjusting my tone with pedals and kind of leaving the amp alone for a long time. I mean, that changed eventually, but that was how I started. It was just like big, clean platform. And, I would do everything from the front. And a lot of people say that's not the way to do it, but I've always gotten pretty good results with it. I've always been really happy with that approach. So I don't think it's wrong.
No, it's not. It's not wrong. I think Paul Gilbert, who's obviously an insanely great guitar player, I think he does that. Like he uses Marshalls, but he runs them clean and just does pedals for the gain stuff.
Well, yeah, and then,
so if he can do it, I can do it. We can all do it.
That's right. Wait, is that how that works? Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. I don't know. What is right anymore? But yeah, it's the Iridium too, though, is a great example of like things have just come so far in the ability to have really good sound and not rely on an amp. And then that seems weird, and it seems kind of like that's not rock and roll, bro. But like, if I've said it before, if I was traveling around, I would definitely have something like that. I don't know which one it would be, if it would be an Axe FX or Line 6 or an Iridium or what, but it almost certainly would be that, because it's so much better than it used to be. It's absurd how good that kind of emulation has gotten. And, if you're relying on it to pay the bills, the more efficient you can be and still get the results you're looking for, the better.
Yeah, totally. Alex Skolnick from Testament, buddy of mine, he has this great Substack, and he just wrote a big thing about amp modeling and being like, maybe the end of real amps is near in terms of touring and stuff, because so many bands like they just don't even have amps. They just have like a Kemper or whatever. I've heard rumors that that's what Metallica's doing now.
Whoa, even Metallica? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, I just saw them. I'd heard that, but then I saw them at MetLife Stadium, and there's no amps on stage, so why would they bother? They probably
Yeah, if they're not on stage, there's a good chance that they are doing something like that. Because if you got them, you're going to show people.
Yeah, so they don't even have them. And then I've talked to some other I guess I don't want to name names, because maybe some people don't want people to know or something, or they probably don't care. But I've talked to a lot of people. I'm surprised that they're just like, yeah, just Kemper or whatever, or whatever what's the Axe one?
The Axe FX, yeah.
Axe FX. I've never even tried that.
I haven't either. It's kind of the OG of that world of like the professional level modelers, I think. But I've never played with it either, so I can't really speak to it. But most of the other ones I have at this point, it's all pretty impressive. But I don't know. I talk similarly. I've interviewed a lot of guys from like the metalcore world here, especially in the last like 6 months. And some of those interviews are kind of interesting because it's supposed to be a gear show, and they're like, "Well, I have a Kemper, and that's all it is." But the other side of that coin is pretty much, I mean, there's a couple exceptions, but pretty much everybody, when they're in the studio, goes back to amps and pedals. Like none of them are like, yeah, we just plug in. Like almost nobody is just going digital in the metal world at like a really high level. Everyone still wants their bones to kind of vibrate and shake, and I understand that. We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby, because let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Goodhertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblissaudio.com. I think you're going to like what you find.
It's more fun, anyway, with amps. I mean, I still ultimately, I don't fully understand really like how, this pedal and that pedal interact with, going into like a digital amp. Like, I don't think it's going to work out the same. I love, just pairing different things and having, being surprised what comes out. And again, I can't stress enough. I love the sound of something that seems like it's about to completely explode, implode. So, running things really hot into a tiny amp and seeing if it blows. It's fun.
It is. It's a good time. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? It's like, I blew my tubes out or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not that big of a deal. We can fix this. We can resurrect it from the ashes if need be. But yeah. So I imagine, this is kind of a bit of a segue. I mean, we could talk about our favorite pedals, I think, all day, maybe for the next 24 hours and just record the whole thing. But, but I imagine you're wanting to do some of these interviews because, I've heard you're an author, and you have a book that people probably
is a great segue.
I want to hear about this book. Tell me more about this book.
I did. I wrote this book that it just came out. It comes out in the US on the 24th, but I'm in Canada as I talk to you. And it's already out here in the rest of the world. It's called The Awesome Game, One Man's Incredible Globe-Crushing Hockey Odyssey.
And it's for the listeners, as they are hearing this, it'll be out. If you're listening to this the day it releases, it'll be out tomorrow.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Perfect timing. So yeah, I'm a big hockey fan and I grew up playing so, sort of earlier we're talking about, I've been able to kind of smush all my interests into one career, comedy and music and writing and stuff. But the one thing I really haven't figured out how to make a part of my career is hockey, because I think I knew I wasn't going to make the NHL by about 12. And so I just love hockey. So I wrote this book. I traveled around the world and, and just watched amazing hockey games, met with other people that love hockey, and even played hockey with, I went as far away as Kenya. There's one team in all of Kenya, the Kenya Ice Lions.
Whoa.
And they play on the only rink in all of Kenya. And so I went over there and I played hockey with them. And that was an amazing experience. I'd never been to Africa before, and it was just beautiful. And just, I saw a baboon steal a loaf of bread from a bunch of school children, which was maybe the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It was completely, it was hilarious. It was scary because as I saw it kind of unfolding, I was like, it was really, they took it from the teacher. The teacher was holding this loaf of bread in, there's in like Wonder Bread kind of in the plastic. And I see this baboon from coming, and I'm just like, my baboon access has been pretty limited in my life.
Sure.
So I'm just like, I don't know what this guy's capable of. Is he going to attack? Is it, so, and I was the only, I was like, I think I might have to fight this baboon. I'm the only one around. I'm the only one around, I think, who could maybe have a chance against this
only
guy.
Adult male in the vicinity, right?
Yeah, exactly. So fortunately, though, the baboon just stole the loaf of bread and ran off, and it was the kids were going nuts laughing. I was laughing my ass off. So anyway, many adventures in the book, but yeah, it's kind of, the book is, hockey is the thread of the book, but it's it spills off into other adventures. Baboon attacks. I got in trouble with the police in Poland, and I thought I was going to prison for the rest of my life in Poland for a solid 10 minutes until they explained to me finally in English that I just jaywalked. That's all that happened. They just take it really seriously.
Okay.
And Poland was, I'd been there before to do comedy, but it was pretty amazing. I went to pro games there, and their fans are the craziest sports fans I've seen anywhere. They're just completely unhinged, and that was super fun. So there is, I have to say, not a lot of gear talk in my new book, but the same passion that I have for gear, I have for hockey. So that is in the book, but I have written it for, it's for hockey fans on one level, but I've tried to write it in a way that people that don't like sports at all, and it's, hopefully an enjoyable book to read, even if you aren't into hockey.
I mean, you sold me with the baboon story. That's all I really needed to hear. I gotta read more.
Come for the hockey, stay for the baboon attack.
I love it. That's fantastic. Well, we are approaching the end of the podcast, and I got a couple classic questions I like to wrap the episodes up on. But
sure.
Before I do, I like to give the guests kind of the chance to take the stage to shout out anybody they want to shout out. If there's, you're talking to a couple thousand people right now, so if there's anything you've wanted to say to a couple thousand people in a recorded format, this is your chance to do so. Obviously, we just talked about the book, so that's cool. But is there anything else you'd like to throw out there into the void? I guess with gear, I should give some shout out to some of my friends in the gear world. Earthquaker devices, of course, Spruce Effects. I'm trying to do categories because and I apologize to anyone. I'll invariably forget to mention people, but Illuminati guitars. I mean, Gibson guitars. I just was down there. Alex Skolnick and I went and had an amazing time with Cesar there. Nice. We played all these. I played Big Ed, the first year Explorer. I played that one
th-
too. It's pretty
You
magical.
played that?
Yeah. It's incredible. It's like, ooh, like it feels magical. Yeah.
It's magical. We went down there, and Cesar brought us into the vault, and I didn't think we were going to be allowed to touch anything. And
I didn't either.
And then I grabbed Big Ed. Alex, he got the Les Paul that's like sister to Greenie or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, we walk in, and then I can't remember what one Cesar grabbed, but we're playing like guitars valued at like $1-2 million, and I'm just like, please don't. We met Billy Gibbons. I held Pearly Gates. I was too afraid to play it, but Alex played it. And Billy was super nice, and that was cool. So yeah, all those, so Cesar and everyone at Gibson, Erica at Gibson, Delaney guitars, of course. I got a shout out. Woodbine and Woodwright guitars. Do you know those guys, right?
Yeah.
I just got a badass Warlord that's really cool. It's tuned to C, and I can't decide whether I'm going to keep it that way or I'm going to give a shout out to my buddy Marzi Montezeri, who just sent me one of his Solar Priestesses, which is totally crazy, awesome guitar I'm excited about. And I got a shout out to 30th Street Guitars.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In New York, Matt and Jimmy and everybody. And then, of course, Carmine Street Guitars. We didn't even talk about that.
Oh, man.
Carmine Street Guitars. I can't believe I haven't brought them up yet because they're such good friends and make such beautiful guitars.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Rick and Cindy there, and Cindy has her own Cindy guitar. I don't have any Cindy guitars yet, but I have two Kelly. I have a Kelly, Kelly Caster, and I have
1 second. Let's see if I can reach it with my headphones still attached. Almost got it. I got it.
Oh my gosh! So you have a Jazz Master?
Yeah, this is my. Yeah, it's a Kelly Jazz Master.
Oh, that's amazing.
My family got it for me for my 30th birthday, and then there's some nice Cindy touch here.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Oh, there we
that's
go.
Beautiful. What is that building on the back?
So it's actually two buildings. Let me get back to the microphone so people can hear me. It's two buildings. So the neck came from Trinity Church Bell Tower. When it caught on fire, Rick went and snuck in and got some of the wood while they were rebuilding it. And then the body comes from a place called McGurk's Suicide Hall.
Wait, you have the same as I have my Kelly bird, like kind of Firebird.
Yeah,
is the same thing. The neck is from the church and the body is from McGurk's Suicide Hall.
Oh, dude, that's so crazy. So that's the two buildings in the back. So McGurk's is amazing. That shorter one, and the Trinity Church is the big tower.
Oh, that's so cool. I should probably take it back and have Cindy do that to mine. I got because of the potential dark energy of the stories of those two buildings.
Oh man. Yeah.
Cindy made me a pick guard with my dog on it because I was like, I need to put some super good vibes energy into this guitar in the event that the darkness is too much.
Yeah, for the listeners, this stuff is all Googleable. So Google those buildings if you're not familiar, especially McGurk's. McGurk's is it's almost it's so cool to have a piece of that, but it's also what a horrible place. What a horrible place.
It was a lot. The story behind it's a lot. So yeah, so I got to give a shout out to them. Poir Guitars. I don't know if you know that. Jay Poir in Cleveland makes these. He makes these. There was a Poir Guitars initially, a bunch of years back, and then he did. He is doing these new models now that are amazing, and I have a Poir Privateer that's absolutely beautiful. I don't want to forget anybody. I want to get Pardo guitars. They're making some cool stuff in Argentina or Spain.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I mean, it's endless. I gotta give a shout out. Godfrey Guitars, Les Godfrey. Do you know his stuff?
I don't.
Oh my God. You have to go on Instagram now. Godfrey Guitars. Les is like, he's a visionary. Like everything he does, you look at it and you're like, I've never seen anything like that. It's so badass. Justin Abernathy Guitars.
I do know those. Yes, he's been
give
on.
a shout out to him.
Mm-hmm.
Such cool stuff. And then Ostroroth, I'm not saying that right. Instruments in Manchester, making some cool. And we don't even have time. I'm just going to run out, and I apologize. I'm giving too many. I'm going to forget certain people, but I mean,
the list is long.
Do you know Hendrick Guitars? I
don't.
It's a whole. I mean, Kurt Hendrick made these guitars in the 80s that were insane, and then he kind of vanished and lived in Asia for like 30 years, and I was like looking all over for him and one of his guitars, and I got a guitar, and then I found him, and he's building stuff again that's totally badass. Anyway, I'm just gonna forget so many people. I just need to stop because I feel bad because I know I'm forgetting someone I want to give a shout out to, and I apologize.
I think they'll forgive you. I think you'll be okay.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Classic questions. Here we go. First, what is your favorite Boss pedal?
My favorite Boss pedal. Oh, I mean, I guess what's the orange one? The distortion one?
The DS1.
Yeah, the DS1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or can I say the Boss Tuner? The Boss Tuner.
That's the most popular answer.
I would say the Boss Tuner because that's really the only one that I use regularly, even though I wish I had all of them, but I don't.
It's a dream of mine. It's never going to happen, but it's a dream of mine to own like every Boss pedal, but it's not going to happen. There's so many, and some of them are super rare and expensive, and I just don't know if I'll ever be able to justify, the insane level of cost that it would be to try to complete that collection.
Yeah,
but yeah.
You got to go over to what's the Josh at JHS? Just raid his warehouse or whatever.
That's an amazing place. If you can ever get yourself in there,
I want to.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty insane.
I get there. I have some of those pedals. Those are really cool.
Yeah, it's almost like, I'm sure to them you get a little numb to it after a while, but like when you first walk in there, you're like, I'm here. And this place is so much smaller than it looks on camera. Mm-hmm. It's like not that big of a room, but they fit a lot in there. I think it was like over 4,000 pedals when I was there in like one spot.
That's insane. I was in Jamie Stillman, from Earthquaker. I was in his basement. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jamie and Julie, they're amazing. And Anna at Earthquaker, they're all amazing. And I was in his basement once where that's like he's got just the craziest, and like early versions of his pedals and stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. All right, final question. Here we go. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
Ooh, well, my answer's changed because I stopped eating beef. I used to eat sausage. I would have said sausage pizza, but I stopped eating it. So I have to say, like, I just like a nice margarita pizza.
Hey, it's hard to beat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or, I'll do like peppers, onions, and mushrooms, but really a solid margarita pizza. If it's done right, I'm super psyched. I know that's maybe a boring answer, but.
Do you have a favorite pizzeria or favorite like spot that you go to?
I mean, my favorite probably on planet Earth is Pugsley Pizza in the Bronx.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of a full experience. I went to Fordham in the Bronx, and so that's kind of how I started going there. But I just went there a couple weeks ago, and I love that pizza. And Sal at that. If you're in the Bronx, you should go to Pugsley's Pizza, and you'll thank me.
All right. Shout out Pugsley's Pizza. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out. I really enjoyed the chat. And
Thanks for having me.
hopefully sometime if you're coming through Portland, we can maybe hang out and nerd out a little bit.
Are you at Portland, Oregon?
That's me. Yep.
Oh, so you must know Andy Martin.
I do. Yes.
Yeah, the pedal god.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Portland in December 13th at Mississippi Studios. So you gotta
no
come
way.
out. I'll leave you tickets. Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
And
Grandma's
I always
Christmas
write
is
to
3
Paul
days later.
Gilbert.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. I was like, oh, there's something going on mid-December. Grandma's Christmas. Nope. That's 3 days later. 13th is great.
I always invite Paul Gilbert to my Portland shows, but he hasn't come out to one yet. But I just do it. I'm trying to wear him down.
One of these days he'll show up.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you so much for hanging out. We'll see what kind of shenanigans we can drum up on a quick Patreon. Does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Got
right.
a couple more minutes here.
Cool. All right, everybody. For Dave, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. All right, folks, there you have it. There it is in the can. Another episode is. What am I, Yoda? Why did I just say it like that? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but hey, I did it. I'm sorry. Anyway, don't forget to take a second to check out Dave's book, The Awesome Game, because you want to hear about baboons. That was enough, right? You don't need to hear anything else. You've got to check out this book. Dave's website will be in the show notes along with his social medias. Go check that out. And please share this episode with a friend, or rather force them to listen to it. If you're on a long car ride right now with your best buddy and you're like, you know what? This guy needs introduced to the ramblings of the Tone Mob podcast. Just go ahead and make them listen to it. They're trapped and they must bend to your will unless they're driving, or you just actually care about your friends and your personal relationships. Anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I'll talk to you on the internet very, very soon. I'll probably have some extra bonus episodes this week as my schedule allows. I will do my best. But yeah, thank you all so much for hanging out. I appreciate you very much, and I'll talk to you on the internet very, very soon. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.
Hey, this is Mike Wiebe, and I'm the singer in a band called the Riverboat Gamblers.
And I'm Zach Blair. I play guitar in a band called Rise Against. Mike and I also have a band called the Draculas, and we also have this great, amazing new podcast called Zach and Mike Make 3.
Yeah, each week we're going to ask ourselves and we're going to ask our guests what 3 favorite things they are into at that moment or in their entire lives. And then we're either going to agree with them or we're going to make fun of them. And you're going to listen to it and you're going to like it, or we will make fun of you. How about that? I just flipped it on you, the person listening to this right now. But we're going to do it every week here on the Sound Talent Network. Once again, it's called Zach and Mike Make 3.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Chris Swinney, formerly of the Ataris and currently host of That One Time on Tour, part of the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. Have you ever wondered what it's really like on the road? The highs can be euphoric, but the lows can be crushing. Join me every week as I chat with industry pros about what it's like living out their wildest dream and, in some cases, their worst nightmare. Past guests of the show include members of NoFX, Pennywise, Bad Religion, and more. Listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com.